MMA scraps is why most shows tap out then cry. We the ones like 'em now at the end of the bout with our hands.
Oh, listen, man, you're a reporter. You got Pat here. Go ahead, man. Ask the questions that you would ask on the show. I don't, do it, man, because I want to know too. We haven't talked about it yet.
Well, perfect timing. I mean, number one, Pat, what a huge opportunity for you. You've talked to me about, hey, let me get that big name fight, and now you've got it. How pumped are you to be going up against a legend like Cro Cop?
Well, the most pumped ever, man. Outrageously nervous 4 months in advance. I mean, Cro Cop has been in my top 5 favorite kickboxers of all time, like ever since the beginning of my, like even noticing real live fighting, like ever since my K1 days, back before when I was still just a fan and wasn't even actively kickboxing yet. He was still like in my top 5 most dangerous guys on the planet, man. So the fact that I get to stand across from this guy, I wonder, I'm actually kind of curious if he'll give me his autograph before we actually fight, or if he's going to think that's kind of weird. Because I mean, I've never met him in person, and I've always wanted to. So now the fact that not only do I get to meet him in person, but I get to test myself against a guy like this is just outrageous. This is just it's all around just outrageous, man. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Well, very cool. I'd hold off maybe after the fight, maybe in the post-fight interview. You might want to slip that one on him, but it should be a great matchup. There's no doubt about it. I'm wondering, Pat, did you get to see his last fight at UFC 110? And if so, what were your thoughts?
I saw his fight. I saw his last fight. I mean, I know he had a last-minute stand-in, like a guy took the fight on like 2 days' notice, had never fought in the UFC before. So I think that right there is why Cro Cop was a little bit. I believe he was being very lenient in that fight. I didn't think that he came out there with the intent of just destroying. He came out there to win. He knew that the guy had taken the fight on a 2-day notice, had never fought in the UFC before, wasn't necessarily training for a fight for himself. I believe that he did enough to win, but did not put his all into it as if it were a fight that had like as if he would have done or attempted to do against Ben. So I won't judge his ability off of that fight. Like I know he is way more of a monster than that.
Yeah, and you got to give a lot of props to Anthony Parrish, who stepped in there, like you said, in two days' notice and put up a very game fight. But he was, if you ask me, he was in over his head. Pat, let me ask you this. I'll let Travis jump in there, but there's been so much talk about this isn't the same Cro Cop that we've seen. When he came to the UFC after all that time in Pride, and he went 1-2 in his first stint in the UFC, losing to Gabriel Gonzaga and Czech Congo. People were saying, this guy isn't the same. And now that he's been back, after a couple wins in Dream and K1, he's 2-1, his lone loss against Junior Dos Santos. But what do you think? I mean, is this guy still as dangerous of a fighter that he used to be?
I put it to you like this. If Mike Tyson punches you in the head right now, you will die, no matter who you are. If Mike Tyson punches you in the head right now, you will fall out dead, no matter who you are. Cro Cop is still Cro Cop. The entire world knows that name. This guy is as dangerous as he always was. So I don't think that he's lost it. The sport is evolving that much. Other fighters are becoming that much better because of guys like him. If it weren't for guys like Cro Cop who are out there just causing this havoc and damage, the sport wouldn't be evolving the way it is now. So I don't say it's that Cro Cop has lost it. He still got it. It's just that everybody else we've got no choice but to get better. We've got no choice but to get stronger, but to get faster. But the sport evolves. The better you do, the better the sport's going to be. That was my point. I wanted to contribute. I wanted to be a contributing factor to the sport evolving, and Cro Cop has done it, man. And that's what I'm attempting to do also. This guy is still dangerous. Like I said, if Tyson punches you, you'll fall out, even if he hasn't thrown a punch in 2 years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think he's still on the top of his game, and for a long time, he was battling through so many injuries. He was fighting pretty often, and I think he went through a time as he was getting older, he just wasn't healing as quickly, and I think he is still a very dangerous fighter. This is going to be a huge matchup and a great test for you, Pat, to go against a real MMA pioneer of the sport in Cro Cop.
And I've always said, and I've always known this about myself, I perform better against higher level guys, against I perform better versus highly skilled guys. versus, I mean, other than, like, I don't do so well against a guy who just comes at me and just runs at me with everything he's got and is, like, spastic and all over the place with no pattern. I perform better against guys who are very skilled and very technical with what they do. There's my secret. It's been given out. So, like, Cro Cop is not an ugly fighter. He's a very technical, highly skilled guy. So he is going to bring out the best of me because I've got no choice. I've got no choice but to perform the best I've ever performed before, because if I don't, I'm going to get kicked in the neck. And guess what probably does not feel good at all? That.
Final question I've got for you, Pat. How are you healing up? I know that you had the hand issue, and when I was down there, you still had it in a cast. How are you feeling? Are you 100%?
I am 100% in comparison to what I'm capable of doing now. I mean, of course, the thumb will never be the same ever again, but I was cleared by the doctor, and I'm back in training. My training camp has started, man. I got all the way up to, like, 260 pounds of lazy man vacation, man. It's all coming off now. So I'm back in action, especially after this weekend coming up at the WEC. When I'm back in Milwaukee, my training camp will start.
If you came here for the fight, rock the blast, won't sight, ready for